Hey, what is going on, everybody? Jacob, Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors podcast. Happy to have y'all on tonight with us. And we're getting a little late start, guys. We had a couple of technical difficulties with the modern day of technology. It looks like we had a few little bugs we had to work out before we got Mr. Warren to be able to get on with us tonight. But we're excited to be back, and we're excited to be back with you guys. Big deal this week, man. Louisiana waterfowl season opens up here in the state of Louisiana this week. So I know a lot of people are excited about that. You're ready to get going. If you're like me, and if you're like most waterfowl hunters, you are ready to get rolling, guys. So hopefully hopefully we have a good start to the season. It doesn't really feel like duck season right now with this weather that we're having, with this warm weather and these temperatures. But you know what? It's still hunting season, and I know you guys are excited as much as I am. But tonight, I'm super excited because I have a guest on the show with us that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. We have Mr. Warren Coco with Go Devil Manufacturing, and we are going to sit down with Mr. Warren tonight. We're going to pick his brain, get a lot of stories, man, a lot of history with waterfowl hunting and the history of Louisiana. We're going to hear his stories tonight. We're going to hear, how he came up in the shallow water industry and revolutionized the shallow water mud motor revolution, guys. So I want to get his story. I'm sure you guys want to hear his stories that he has to tell. And we're going to bring him in and get started tonight with him. So we're going to welcome him to the show right now and get going with that. Mr. Warren, good evening. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, man. Fine as I can be.
Well, good. I know. I told the guys it looks like we had a little technical difficulty with all this modern technology nowadays, but we worked it out. So first of all, thank you so much for taking time and being patient, coming on the show with us tonight.
That's no problem. That's just too much technology, man. It's too many things that can go wrong when you start dealing with all these phones and computers and everything, and especially old guys like me. I can run a computer, but I can't get too technical with it. I can just stay on.
That's right. Hey, nowadays we kind of forced to, Mr. Warren. You have to kind of learn a little bit of it nowadays, whether we like it or not.
Oh yeah, the first computer I got, my guy, a friend of mine, set me up. This is back, I think, about 94, and I never forget what he told me. He said, "I'm gonna tell you something. Once you get his computer," he says, you can never be without one. I think I got about 6 or 7 of them in this office right now.
Yeah.
And then with the iPhone, that's just a whole nother computer. But what it enables you to do is just, it gives you freedom. It's just, you can do so many things, so much. You can research so much. You got just so much at your fingertips. Just photographs is the biggest thing for me. Because I take thousands and thousands of pictures. I always have. But now with the iPhone, it just makes all that so much easier and delete it. I'm not paying somebody to print them. That's a big deal right there, just that in itself.
That's right. You mentioned something to me last week when we were talking. I know you've always been real big on on photographs. You just mentioned that, but you said that you learned a way now with the technology. You could scan it right there on your phone, and you could upload all your pictures to social media, because you've been doing quite a bit with social media with Go Devil Manufacturing and posting a lot of those old pictures, and people really enjoy that, Mr. Warren.
Oh yeah, I've been taking pictures for 50 years. I got a friend of mine. In fact, the reason I got this business, a guy named Bart Graves. I was actually Todd Graves' father, of the guy that started raising canes. Todd was about 5 years old when we started hunting together. His dad, when I met his dad, made him train the dogs on the side of the Airline Highway where Industrialplex is now. And we became friends, and he had a photo album of different hunts he had made, and 8 by 10 pictures. I said, man, I'm going to start doing that. And that was about 1976. And ever since then, I've had a 35 millimeter camera up until now. We got an iPhone. Now I don't carry a camera anymore. I just carry this iPhone. And it works. And all the pictures I've taken through all those years, I still have them all. And I've done scanned them all. And now the scanning technology, I got an app called PhotoMine, and it will scan and enhance a photograph that you already have. You don't have to put it on a scanner. You can do it with the iPhone. And it just makes everything easier. And I've got everything logged and cataloged. all my pictures from different places and times and all. What amazes me at my age is that the memory I have, I can remember when I can look at a picture, I can tell you when and where it was shot and who's in it. I mean,
Yeah.
every one of them.
You know, it's funny you say that because like all those posts you do with these older photographs, it's like it seems like you remember every detail. You put a little description in all the photos, and you know exactly who was in the photos, when it was taken, where it was taken, and that's amazing that you remember all that.
Yeah, it really is, and it's. I got a friend of mine who used to hunt with at Tom Kleberg. He was an attorney, and his job was to have a memory, being an attorney. And
Yeah.
we were talking one day. He came fishing with me year before last, and we'll talk about different things. He said, "Man, how you remember all that?" I said, "I can remember it like it happened yesterday. Most things, you
That's
know.
crazy.
But
And
don't
now
ask me somebody's name. You know, sometimes I got to think about it for a while."
yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned to me last week, people may not know this, and I may be kind of spilling the beans a little bit on this, but you told me, you said that you're actually in the process right now of writing a book, correct?
Yeah, I'm about 5 years into that. You know, kind of doing a little bit in the summertime when I don't go to the camp, which isn't very often. I've got a little over 100 pages written in Word, and I'll finally start putting pictures with it. And I'm about 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the copy, and I'm already up to 400 pictures that I've
Wow.
got that's going in. I'm not done yet, and it's just just gonna see what it's gonna cost to print and everything. But I've got some really really good pictures, a lot of history, a lot of my history, starting a business, everything. From
Yeah.
from the get go.
Yes,
From all the
sir.
way back. I don't have many pictures when I was a kid. We didn't have nothing. We didn't own a camera. Didn't have any money to buy a camera. Back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. You know, that's a good point, and that's kind of where I wanted to start tonight, Mr. Warren. Everybody knows you, for Go Devil Manufacturing, and I'm just going to say it. You revolutionized the shallow water outboard industry here in Louisiana, and it branched out from Louisiana to all parts of the world. But going back to some of those younger days, you talked just now briefly. You mentioned about when you were younger, you didn't have a camera. What was it like growing up as Warren Coco? Where were you introduced to the outdoors? Did you always kind of have that in your DNA, or where did it start, Mr. Warren?
I had a friend of mine, in fact, the fellow Jerry Carter, who I started this business with when we were in high school, we fished together. And then after, we started hunting together. We hunted out there at Alligator Bay, shot pool dudes out in big old duck blinds. We wanted to be duck hunters, and we fished, as in high school. I always had really liked the outdoors. My daddy never did really take me hunting or fishing. We go fishing, a cane pole on the side of the road, a ditch, and go catch some crawfish with some set nets. But we never did do much. We weren't very close. But I started, friends I had, we started hunting together. We were rabbit hunting and never really did any deer hunting. But we used to try to shoot wood ducks on an old canal over here by the house. And as we got older, I had a boat and a motor before I had a vehicle to pull it and a trailer, and just, I was intrigued with boats and motors, and I was very mechanically inclined or gifted, I would say. When I was 13 years old, I got a drill for Christmas, found out you could drill a hole in metal. I said, man, look out now. I took my bicycle and I got a hacksaw and I sawed the pedals off of it, bolted a piece of plywood to it and put an engine on it. I was riding down the road. I wasn't pedaling anymore. And I've just had a knack for mechanical things and had built, little inboard mud boat, pirogues, what I would call a mud boat, not what people call mud boats now. And then the way I got started in this business, I met Bart Graves, and he had joined a deal called American Sportsman Club, and they had leases all over the country, and they had duck leases, deer leases. That was $1,000 a year deal. First year you had to put up another 1,000, and there was no way I could afford to do anything like that. I was working at Klein Peter Dairy, making about $10,000 a year, and I was hunting down the river at Passaloo, sleeping in a tent in the mud, killing all the ducks I wanted to kill. And he started hunting over in Hackberry, where I'm now, and that's how I wound up over there. And he said, man, I want you to come hunting over here with me. I said, yeah, right. No, you got to come. I said, I got this funny-looking engine somebody built. Somebody saw this in Vietnam, came back here and built one. Somebody else built one. He explained it to me. I said, man, you're out of your mind. No, I want you to come. So, all right, I'm going to come. Well, we went hunting. shot limited ducks. We come out that morning, we stopped in its boat shed, and you got to realize what I was looking at. This thing had about a 1950 cast iron Briggs & Stratton engine that you had to wrap a rope on to pull start. It did not even have a rewind on it.
Big heavy engine.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that big. It wasn't about 6-7 horsepower or something like that. And then it had a U-joint on it. It's sitting on about a 1950 Evinrude bracket. It had a rubber hose for a bearing in the bottom. And I looked at that thing and I laughed and I laughed. He said, "Oh no, man, that thing could go." Well, I knew a lot about propellers and shafts and bearings because I'd done built, at that point in time, I'd done probably built about 4 little inboard boats and had one at the time. And so I started rounding up all my junk and I put the first one together. It weighed, it had a 10 horsepower cast iron coal engine. It weighs more than what a 40 horse surface drive weighs now. You couldn't pick it up, but it worked. And I said, "Man, I'm gonna quit my job and start building these." In 1977, my hunting partner became my business partner. We started in the backyard behind his parents' house, a little shop that we had built. And that's where we started in 77, right there on Tiger Bend Road across from Woodlawn School. And
yes, sir.
Worked there for 2 years, came to this location and built a building and added on and kept growing. And then I bought him out in 95. He was ready to move on and the business shot to the roof. It was just a sign of times. It wasn't because he left, it was just everything fell into place. And we were shipping product, everywhere. I shipped a lot of stuff to Russia in the day and out of the country, and all that's done died down now because they all copied everything we built. It's just anytime you build something good, somebody's going to copy it, and that's what's happened everywhere. For everything you build, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, because I mean that's the ultimate form of flattery, Mr. Warren. You build something good, you're gonna see other people try to. Is that something that's a big issue you see in your industry, like with motors? Because look, I say it's a small niche community, as far as the competitors out there, but maybe there's more out there than I'm aware, and maybe most people are aware. I mean, you hear the major brands, a lot of it's based here in Louisiana. A lot of these companies are based here. But is it out of state that you're seeing other people? Are you seeing new companies pop up that are competing with y'all nowadays?
There's always a little small backyard operation cranking up and going out of business. That comes and goes. You're going to have that. But there's competition and everything. I said something one day. I said, "I've never seen anybody have more competition than I got." Then you go to these waterfowl shows, a big show like we had a Delta Waterfowl show here, and you see all the people with duck calls, and then you see all the people making decoys. Look, they done chopped that pie up so much ain't nobody gonna make any money. Too much competition. Yeah. All it takes to make duck calls is a bedroom in your house. You can contract somebody to turn the calls for you. You put them together and you ship them. And all these guys I think are hurting now because there's just so much. The big names, they're all hurting. They're not selling what they used to sell. Yeah. And they're not getting the price they used to sell. And it's the same thing with us. We're not selling what we used to. We just got to, you just got to stay on top of it and just try to keep our piece of the pie. And that's right. Biggest thing I got going is service. And people will call me. And I take all the calls, all the bad calls, all the breakdowns, all the problems. So I know I was good to talk to you. I said, "Who you think you was going to talk to? Ain't nobody can help you better than I can." I said, "I got all the answers and the right one the first time." And that goes a long ways. And you can see on Facebook, people that keep repeating that. They said, "You got a problem, Coco's going to help you. He'll talk to you and he'll walk you through it." And that's part of being in business and doing good business.
That's right. Yeah, you keeping customers happy, you answering questions, and you, like you said, they can pick up the phone, call you, and even us, we're a Go Devil dealer at our dealership, Mr. Warren. You know that, and I'll say, "Hey man, call Mr. Warren if you have a question." They're like, "Wait, Mr. Warren Coco?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they say, "Okay, I can speak to him." Yeah, you call there, you're gonna speak to Mr. Warren. So that's very comforting for a customer to be able to hear that. And that's something that you don't see a lot of nowadays with customer service and where a lot of businesses fail. So I think that's a big win for your company and for, the brand itself, Mr. Warren. That's something that people appreciate.
A lot of people will call me and say, "Why should I buy something from you instead of somebody else?" I said, because if you ever buy something from me, you're going to realize, I come with a deal at no charge. Okay. And if you ever buy something from me, you're gonna figure out what that's worth. Is I'm gonna help you with the engine, I'm gonna help you with what we build, I'm gonna help you with all of it. We can handle it all. And a lot of people, once they've owned my product, if they've ever had an issue or problem and got me and I'm able to help them, and then they see the value of that. It's just like any equipment. A lot of people, they look for the cheapest. Okay. Yeah, you can buy the cheapest, but are you gonna get service when you need it? It's just I own more equipment than anybody I know. I own 7 John Deere tractors. And the reason I got John Deere is because you can get parts and service. Got 2 Caterpillar excavators, both of them are duck hunting excavators. I can get parts and service, and it's just,
Yep.
That's what you got to look at when you're buying equipment. And then another thing you want to do, you want to talk to who's working on them, who repairs them. And that you'll learn a lot by that, by looking at different equipment.
No doubt. Yeah, that's well said. Mr. Warren, when you talked about some of those early days, you had mentioned, I heard, I think you told me this a week or two ago. You said when Go Devil first kicked off in that first year, I think it was, you mentioned to me. Kind of talk about what sales were like when that first year kicked off for Go Devil versus where we come nowadays as far as what you producing and putting out there.
The biggest aluminum block engine Briggs & Stratton had available at that time in 77 was 8 horsepower. That was it. You got above 8, you got the 9 horsepower cast iron and a 16 horsepower cast iron, which is much too heavy for this application. That first year, we built 16 engines. Most of them were 8 horsepowers, and we built a handful of 5 horsepowers, and I got 1 10 horsepower, and I ain't got to tell you who kept that one. And then the next year, they came out with 11 horsepower, which just like an upgraded 10. And then they came out with a 16 opposed twin. And that was a big jump for us because it was an aluminum block engine. And I tried to deal with Kohler to buy engines from them. I wasn't big enough. They didn't even want to talk to me, but they didn't have a good engine at the time for this application. The things progressed and got, moved on, got bigger in, went to 18 horsepower. And we were building, quite a few engines and staying with all aluminum block engines for weight purposes. And then they went in 1988. I never forget. They came out with the first Vanguard V-twin engine. Salesman called me. I'm gonna send you this engine. I want you to mount it, and I'm gonna come down here and come ride with you. I said, all right. And I mounted it. It was a 14 horsepower, and I mounted it. And I went and ran it, and I called him back and said, that's the strongest 14 horsepower engine I ever ran. He said, well, I'm coming down there. We ran it, and that's when the 15 came out. They labeled it 15, and then the next year they called it a 16. Didn't change anything. To this day, it's not the biggest, it's not the meanest, and it's not the baddest, but it's still the best running engine we sell. It's got the best carburation on that 16 horsepower Vanguard. And that evolved into an 18, which was more cubic inches, to a 20, more cubic inches with a 2-barrel carburetor, to a 23, which has been a big seller. Then they came up with, we want to build a bigger engine. And they came to me and said, if we built a bigger engine, would you buy it? I said, sure, I'll buy it. Everybody's going to buy it. So why you say that? I said, Onan, we're buying some Onan 24s at the time, and they weren't that good of a quality engine.
Yeah.
And he said, well, Onan's only selling this many engines. I said, you don't understand. You build a better engine. I said, everybody's going to buy it. They're going to build the equipment to fit your engine. And that's exactly what happened. Gotcha. They built the 31 Vanguard. That was a predecessor of the 35, 37, 40 now. They built that 31, and they had a lot of opposition. The engineers are pushing that, and people with us, Briggs was pushing that, and the higher-ups were dead set against it. They said, man, this is not what we do. We don't build big engines, and they'll get a lot of opposition. And they had consulted me, which I'm a small potatoes compared to a lot of these OEMs. And when they were able to take a purchase order, I gave them a purchase order for the first $250,000 worth of engines that came off the assembly line. That shut a bunch of them up when I did
yes,
that.
I bet it did.
Oh yeah, that was back in 03 when that happened. As a matter of fact, they gave me an exclusive. I had an exclusive that they would not sell that engine to any of my competition for a year. And wow. You talk about upset some competition, buddy, they were hot.
I bet.
But that's the way the ball bounced. I've been a customer for them forever.
Yeah.
And, since back in '77, and then they honored that. And then after that, then they'd never do that again. They got too much heat over that.
Yeah.
But the engines, when that Vanguard came out, that twin cylinder, the quality of my product jumped tenfold. It just made just a much better product. We've made changes through the years. We improved our bearing systems. We made, first off, all we had was brass propellers. Then we made stainless propellers. Then we made better stainless propellers. And that my stainless super weedless propeller on Longtail is probably the most copied product in this industry there ever was. Everybody's making identical prop, and they all pop molds off of mine.
And that's a good point, Mr. Warren, because y'all make your props. What sets Go Devil apart? And I want to focus on that right there. When you're talking about props specifically, y'all manufacture those props in-house at Go Devil, and a lot of companies, they don't do that, So that is something that y'all do, correct?
Well, we don't actually pour the casting. We receive the casting. We do the machining. We do the balancing, and on longtail props, we have to change the pitch on most of them, not all of them. But cast is a 9.6, like a 9-inch prop, and then we change the pitch from a 9.7 down to a 9.3 to accommodate the different horsepowers. But then we do the machine work and balancing and all that. We do all that in house. That way we know it's right. And then we're using a lot better material than most of them are. Our props wear longer. And we just try to build a better product, and a lot of the stuff you have to do in house, to be able to control the quality of it. We get a lot of parts made outsourced, but they're all CNC parts. Built on computer on CNC lathes. I get a lot of parts laser cut. And somebody said, "Why don't you do that?" I said, "We don't buy enough." I said, "I don't need an $80,000 lathe to compete with these guys. That's a very competitive business." And I said, "I'm not trying to take the nickels away that they're making." And then another thing, when they're making the parts, pretty bad.
Okay. So looks like we kicked Mr. Warren off there. He might have had a call come through or something. We're going to get him right back, guys. So that is very interesting to hear his take on that, because Go Devil, they have so much that they do in-house as compared to some other competitors out there. And when, like he said, the customer service that you're going to get with him is second to none, because you call Go Devil guys for those of you who have product, exactly what I'm talking about when it comes there. If you call them, you're going to get him on the phone, and that's one thing that sets them apart also from some of the competition out there. So it's a huge deal, and we're going to kind of try to delve into that with him here if we could get him right back on with us. I do apologize, guys. He was joining us from his phone. It looks like he's coming back in right now. So
You still there?
we got you back, Mr. Warren.
All right, hold on. Let me kill that phone. We forgot to go back and do that.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I don't see the moon now.
And guys, this is
all right. Let me.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna wait till he gets that iron out real quick. We're gonna get back into it. I want to kind of pick his brain on kind of, when they started out in the 70s. They've been doing this for so long now. It's hard to believe. He started Go Devil before I was even born. I was born in 79. So that's hard to believe that it's been that long. But, what I want to talk to him a little bit about, and you guys, if you have questions, don't hesitate to get in the chat with us right here. Leave a question for him if there's something you want to ask Mr. Warren and pick his brain on. But what I want to ask him is, kind of when did he see that, hey, this product that we're offering now is kind of taking off, at this point? And because you got to understand, it was all, outboards and, push pirogues, that type of style, as far as vessels went up until the point when he released this product in the late 70s. So I'm interested to kind of get his take on that and say, hey, once we started building this thing, he already told us it didn't just take off like they were probably hoping for, I could assume, And then all of a sudden, where was that point where it started transitioning to where you started seeing more and more and more, of those sales when it came down to it? So I really want to kind of ask him that, see what his take is on that, and I'm sure he's going to have a story for us on it. And then we're gonna delve into a little bit of history on, waterfowl hunting specific stories that I want to pick his brain, because he's been all across the state of Louisiana. He's been all across the United States hunting. And I want to really find out, some of those stories that I've been told personally by him and his family, and then also let you guys hear them as well. And then we'll continue on with that. So hopefully we could get him back with us right now. Sorry, guys, do apologize for that. It is modern technology, and I think he was, having a little trouble on his iPhone with it. So let me see if we could try to get him back, help him out right here. But if y'all could stay patient with us, guys, we're going to try to get him back on very quickly right here. But like I said, if y'all don't mind, if y'all have any questions that you want to ask for him, feel free to interact in the chat right here. Leave us a question. We could get him to answer it. If there's something that you guys want to ask, I want to ask him a little bit about the Duckman videos, and Phil. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let me see here. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me get my sound up a little bit.
It's echoing a little bit.
How about that?
I can hear you. It's just echoing.
All right, let me.
So yeah, I want to go ahead and talk to him about that. I want to go back and ask him about them Duckman video days, guys, because I've heard so many rumors about all that stuff, about what the stories were when they filmed the original Duckman videos versus what actually happened. I want to kind of get his take on that. So hopefully we can get him back right here and kind of pick his brain on that. So unfortunately, we have a little technical difficulty on his end, but that's okay. If not, we'll piece it together. We'll bring it back to y'all to be able to listen to, and hopefully get it all ironed out. So dealing with technology, y'all know how it is. But thank y'all so much for tuning in with us tonight. We do appreciate it, guys. On a Monday night, I know most of y'all are excited for duck season coming up here. If we're kicking off duck season this weekend, let us know. We'd love to hear where y'all headed to. Not your honey holes, of course, but where y'all may be planning on heading out this weekend. I know here in Louisiana, it's some bad weather that they're saying we could possibly end up having. So hopefully that stays away from us. It's November. We're ready to get rolling. And we're excited. People ask me, they said, I had several of my buddies call and they said, hey, y'all have birds right now? We've been scouting the last couple of weeks. We have been scouting pretty heavily. And there are birds to be found in the state. We do have some birds that are here early this year. But it's really hit or miss. I'm going to be honest with y'all. We hunt, public land. 99% of the time we're on public land. That's what we've been grinding on, trying to scout. And there is some public land here in the state that's holding birds right now. But, it's one of those things that you have to be on the X, because if you're not, there's too many conditions right now that are not in our favor. From, not having enough rainfall over the last couple of months. It's dry in a lot of places right now. A lot of places don't have water at all. So it makes it really tough if you're in one of those areas right now. There's other places, with vegetation right now. We're extremely warm for November. So a lot of freshwater estuaries, if you have, hyacinth and salvinia, that type of stuff, it's probably clogging up your waterways right now if you have water in those areas, because it's been such a warm summer. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a grind the first split from what it looks like. We don't have any cold weather that's scheduled to come in anytime soon. It doesn't look like. So I don't know. That's kind of what I've seen from having boots on the ground. But you guys tell me what y'all seen. I'd love to kind of know if y'all are seeing, birds out there, what y'all think the first split is going to look like. I know Youth Weekend was this weekend. I heard some mixed reports there with Youth Weekend in the West Zone. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting start to the season. It looks like. What I'm hoping for is that this projected storm that they're thinking is coming into the Gulf of Mexico, I'm hoping that strays away and kind of fizzles out before it even makes it to landfall with anybody from along the Gulf Coast, because none of us really need that right now, guys. So, hopefully that's going to be, something that we can avoid. And if we can make it through that, I think hopefully that'll be probably the end of your tropical season, which we should be at the end right now. But I think you're going to start seeing things pick up from that point on. I know it's warm up the flyways. I just had a friend of mine. He went to Canada a couple of weeks ago, and they had a really good trip. But he told me, he said a lot of birds are up in Canada still. They're still holding up there. They're not getting the cold weather up the flyways that they normally have to start making that big migration push. So it's going to be interesting to see if those birds, if we continue to have this warm weather, are those birds going to be able to make it down the flyway, like they normally do in the times that we're used to them making it down, or are they going to kind of stall and stay up north more, So I think, with us, all us Southern hunters, it's going to be something that's going to be interesting. I talked to a buddy of mine today in Texas. They opened up over the last, couple of days actually. And he told me, he said, we shot some birds. He said, we did harvest some birds. He said, but it's not real thick. He said, it seemed like the birds were already kind of weary. He said they weren't, they weren't dumb birds, I guess you could say. They weren't just willing to commit to the decoys. So that he said, he was kind of disappointed in the opener. And I said, did y'all, receive the rainfall or the lack of rainfall that we did here in Louisiana? He said, yeah. He said, that's kind of been our story too. So just not a lot of rain, man. And last year that really hurt us down here. I know us, if you followed us last year, we had a really good kickoff to the first half of the season. We stayed in the coastal marshes here in South Louisiana for the most part of the first split last year. But, after I'd say the first split, it really started dropping off quickly last year. So typically what we'll do at that point is we'll head to the timber, we'll go to the woods, and we'll try to hunt the woods. Problem was last year is you had a drought, a major drought, man. It was really, really bad. Y'all know that, if you hunt the woods. And we just didn't have the water. The little bit of water we found, what I found last year, I kind of got excited about because I found a few areas on public land last year in the woods, in the timber, that I thought we're gonna have some ducks as we progressed into the later half of the second split last year, and it just never really produced as what it was. So I was sitting there, and I'm hunting this section of woods that I found, these couple of holes, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm telling my son, I said, hey, they're gonna come. We get the right weather, the birds are gonna show up. They're gonna come, and they never did. So what I think, and I could be completely wrong when I tell you all this, but what I think happened was that those areas that the birds typically migrate down to that we were hunting that normally hold birds at that time of year, I think they bypassed those areas because there was such little water to hold any amount of birds, any amount of feed for, any substantial amount of time. And those birds just kind of migrated on down to the coast, probably areas like the Delta here in Louisiana, Venice, Louisiana, those areas, and those guys had a pretty decent, second split last year. So they were able to have a pretty good second split last year. So I'm hoping, that we don't have a repeat of what we had last year as far as that goes. We got a little bit more rain this year, a little bit more, water, but it's not really looking good, man. We haven't received rainfall in over a month, and until this week. Let me say that we did get some decent rain this last week, but it's really not enough to help us a ton, So I'm hoping that it's really not a repeat of last year. But overall, when I looked at last year, it really wasn't a bad season, overall, considering the conditions that we had last year. So, who knows? Time will tell. But, from what I'm hearing from the youth weekend this weekend, really mixed reports. I know our plans are we're going to be heading out. I actually work this weekend, so I'm not going to be kicking off the weekend with the west side like most of you might be in the west zone. I'm going to hunt Monday. I'm actually going to come in at the end of the weekend. I'm going to go out. We're going to make a hunt with the guys over at Game Changer Boats. We're going to go down. We're going to hunt some public land that we scouted out. We're going to hunt with them on Monday, and hopefully we can put together a good hunt there on Monday. But that'll be my kickoff to the season. And then from there, what we're looking to do is the following weekend, we're going to head over with my friend Lance Coco, Mr. Warren's son. And our plans were that we were going to be going over to Hackberry, Louisiana, to do a little bit of hunting with Mr. Warren and the family over there down in Hackberry. But what's happening in their area is this weekend, although they had a pretty decent start to their season, the water's pushing in. All these big winds that are blowing over the last couple of days are pushing that water into the marshes. It's making that water elevation rise in the marshes. It's covering up some of that feed, some of that grass. And when that happens, typically those birds tend to move out of those areas. So we were talking, me and Lance today, and he said, you know what? He said, if this storm comes into the Gulf, he said it's only going to make things worse. It's going to make that water rise even more. And he said at that point, what it's going to do is, he said it's going to push those birds out. We're just not going to have the numbers of birds that we normally would have to kick off the season. So in that situation, what we talked about is we'll probably try to head over to the rice in Southwest Louisiana. We're going to go down there. I know Lance has a lease that he's got into this year that he's did some, teal season hunting, and they had some birds for teal season. They did really well during teal season and really had a good teal season overall. So he said, hey, from what it looks like, we are holding some birds down in the rice. The birds that are making it down here, they're showing up in the rice fields. They're kind of hanging around. They're gorging themselves, and they're not having any pressure on them because the season hadn't really kicked off, yet to get any kind of shooting going around. But our game plan is if that water in Hackberry comes up and we decide not to head down there on the coast, we're going to probably move into Gaydon, to that area, and do some hunting in the rice fields to kick off the season. So I'm really looking forward to that. Either or for me. The great thing about going to the rice is that, man, you start getting not only ducks, but you got your geese, you got your specks, you got your snows. So some of those early geese that you got that are moving in, you get a great opportunity to come in and be able to hunt some of that and really make some epic hunts, man. If you got birds, you could have some great hunts. And if that's the situation where we're holding a good bit of birds in the rice, then you could bet your butt that we're going to try to bring you guys some video footage of all that. It'll probably be some pit blind hunting that we're going to do down at Gaydon, but hopefully we could get situated and get some ducks and some geese, kicked off for the beginning of the season. That'd be really, really nice. So, somebody asked me the other day, they were talking about goose hunting, and I said, if you goose hunt and you're interested in coming to Louisiana for a goose hunt, I said, you definitely want to be down in that Kaplan, Gaydon area. That's a great area to go down to. And guys, if y'all are looking to do that, this is a great time for me to mention this. But if y'all are looking to maybe do some goose hunting this year, you want to book a guide, whether it's duck and goose or, one or the other, then go check out our buddy Kobe Fitch at Cajun Country Waterfowl. He's a sponsor of the podcast. He's a great guy, great outfitter, man, and they run a top-notch operation down in Gaydon, Louisiana. They will put you on some birds. And Kobe, they had a great teal season, a really good teal season. And he told me, he said, we got birds moving in right now for the start of the season. And I know that they've been booking up pretty fast, but they did have some spots still available, I think, for a little bit later, in the year. So if you're interested in that, man, go check them out, Cajun Country Waterfowl. Kobe Fitch is the guy to get in touch with over there because they really run a top-notch guide service. They're the type of service that you do not have to worry about somebody, booking a hunt with them, and you show up and there's no birds there and they're taking your money. You're not going to have any of that with those guys, man. I wouldn't put my name and back them and refer my fan base to them if I didn't think that they were some quality people. So I'm really, really looking forward to that with them, and to getting some of those people down there. I want to make a hunt with them this year. We talked about going down there second split, making a hunt with them, and we're going to do that as well. So you'll probably see us in the rice a couple of hunts this year, and we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, let me know what y'all think as far as the scouting y'all been doing. I don't want you honey holes. I know nobody's going to share that. But what y'all thoughts on the overall start to the season? What's it looking like? If you got an opportunity to go out there for the youth hunt or the veterans hunt, I'd love to hear what you guys saw. Did y'all have some successful hunts out there? And what was it like? Because it kind of gets me fired up for when I get to go. So I'm looking forward to it. So let me text Mr. Warren here, and I do apologize, guys, for this. This is technical difficulty tonight. We've never really had this problem before, but we're trying to get Mr. Warren Coco, who was on the show with us, and see if he could get back on with us. Let me see right here. We lost his connection. I think what happened is he was on his iPhone doing it. I think he had a call come in that kicked him out of the system with us tonight. You got to be prepared for stuff like that when you do it using modern technology. So, but okay, let's see. He says he's there. Let me see here. Let me see here. He says he could hear us. He could hear me talking. So I got him up. It looks like he's in with us, but is not showing up. Let's see what happens right here with the video. I think he's trying to work it out on his end right here with the camera. Let's see what we can get here. But I can tell you guys, it don't feel like duck season right now. With this weather we've been having, this warm weather, it's a little warm right now for this time of year. Not too far. It's hard to get fired up, man. You got to hear some good success stories to get fired up before you can get too fired up to get out there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. How about that?
That'll work. That'll work.
All right.
So
go for it.
You got to hear me talking, and I was kind of filling them in. But where we kind of left off, Mr. Warren, I wanted to ask you, and I told the audience this. I said, I want to know kind of, when you were talking about how Go Devil kicked off, when was it that you kind of said, hey, man, this is starting to kind of take off now, because I know those first couple of years you were saying were a little bit slower, but I'd like to know when was that turning point in the history of the company?
Well, when we started, we couldn't sell with $100 bills tied to them. Everybody looked at that and said, that won't work. That won't work. But you got to realize I was dealing with all these old hard heads. All my customers back then, I was 22 years old. All my customers back then were older than me. Now all my customers are younger than me, most of them anyway. And it was a hard sell. Oh, that thing's too hard to drive. No, it ain't. You just got to learn how to drive it. It's like riding a bicycle. And, just things went on, and then people saw what it could do. Once somebody bought one, the best stories I can tell, I started advertising Ducks Unlimited, and repetition was a big deal in advertising, with magazine advertising. I run every issue. Reason I did that, somebody be hunting, they be struggling trying to get to where they're hunting, and they hear something going by. I said, man, what was that? I don't know what it was, but I saw that in Ducks Unlimited magazine. Come back and call me. So they were struggling trying to get to their blind. The guy passed them up, and said, I got to have one of these. And then time went on, and we didn't really start making money till about the time I bought my partner out. That's about 1995. But we grew real slow, paid for everything, anything, piece of equipment we bought, any building we built. We didn't build it or we didn't buy it till we write the check for it. Because, being in business, a lot of these people look at you, oh, man, that guy's making all that money. I said, you don't know the heartache and the problems and the issues and everything that goes with being in business. And now so with employees and people and, and then like prime example, it's election. Everybody's sitting on pins and needles waiting to see what's going to happen with this election right now. But business made a turning point about 95. And that's when all competition came. Whenever you're doing well, competition's coming. And that's when it came. It came with a force.
Makes sense.
And it just grew and grew. I mean, we grew big time at that point. My business grew the year I bought my partner out. My sales increased 63%. The next year was 65%. But that's when we came off a 3-duck limit, went to a 5 and a 6-duck limit too. It had nothing to do with him leaving. It had to do with the time was right.
The timing was right. The hunt opportunities were better.
Right, that's correct. And then the competition came at that point. And then it's just got to stay on top of it.
That's it. Well, before we get into a little bit of history and some stories that I'd like you to tell, let me ask you this: with as far as the product goes itself, I hear people ask me. They say, "Okay, we're at a 40 horsepower surface drive. We have trim on these things. We have reverse on these things. What's next? What's the future hold for the surface drive industry or the mud motor industry, Mr. Warren? Where can you go from here?"
1,000 cc's is the limit. Okay, and that's where we at. The Vanguard is like 995 cc's, and they've got, it started out at 995, they had 35 horsepower. They tweaked it a little bit, fuel injected it, got 37. Now up to 40 horsepower. Now, anything above that, all these people hot rodding these engines, which I am dead set against, and they'll probably start shooting at me for saying this. It's, you lose your warranty, you lose your longevity. These guys are doing this because they want to go fast. But as far as these type engines, to get into to build a bigger engine, more cc's, more cubic inches, you get into a whole new tier of emissions with the EPA. And when you get to that, the emissions get more stringent and more costly, and nobody's wanting to go there. And I was talking to an engineer one day. I said, well, give me an example of an engine that's in this next tier of emissions. He said, well, like what you'd see in a forklift. And I said, I can relate to that. I had bought a brand new Caterpillar forklift about 15 years ago. And this thing was fuel injected propane. I didn't know they made such a thing, but that's what they had to do to meet the emission standards. It had to be fuel injected propane, and so to get any bigger, it's going to be very, very costly, and nobody wants to do it. Now, they got bigger engines, but then it gets bigger and heavier and more awkward. A lot of these guys are putting turbos on them, look like they're having some pretty good success, but you still, that engine is only made to do so much, and you start boosting it, you're going to shorten the life of it no matter what you do. And then, our policy is we won't service one once it's been modified, because I'm not going to be responsible for something that breaks after we work on it. We'll work on the drive unit, but we won't touch the engine. And
and let me ask you this, Mr. Warren, what's the disadvantage? Like, okay, where's the problem when you're talking about modifying? Where's the issues come into play as far as what you see problems it could potentially cause? Because I get customers, they'll ask us that, especially a lot of younger guys. They'll say, man, what's it actually do? Like, what problems do you see occurring or that you see commonly occur whenever these engines are souped up?
The shorten the lifespan. Briggs, Cole, and Honda's goal is to get 2,000 hours out of that engine. I've got engines, Vanguard, small block Vanguards, and some Cole engines documented with 8,000 hours. Cool. You never see that on a lawnmower or something else because of dirt and dust and everything. This is a very clean application. When you start boosting compression, shaving heads, doing all this, getting more RPMs, the block is not designed to handle that. Okay, more horsepower creates more heat. All right, and then you just shorten the life of the engine. I mean, and a lot of these guys, they'll blow them up. And they'll spend $5,000-6,000, whatever they got to do, and they'll blow it up. And they'll do it again. And man, if that what makes them happy, go for it. But I'm not going to be a part of doing that. Us as a manufacturer, we can't do it. We're bound by the EPA. When it leaves here, it can't be modified. Now once a customer gets that engine, he can do whatever he wants with it. We have no control over that. EPA has no control over it. If they want to do that, man, they can knock themselves out. I had a customer call me today that had somebody put a turbocharger on his. He's wanting us to take it off. I said, man, we won't touch it. He said, I want to put it back in stock. I said, we won't touch it. You bring it back to the guy who put it on there, get him to take it off. It's just, I got enough issues keeping stock engines running, much less keeping hopped up engines running. They go putting these big Mikuni carburetors on them. If you got a stock engine, you can get me on the phone. I can tell you how to adjust it. I can diagnose it. I can help you more than anybody else can. But once you modify it, it's out of my hands. I can't help you.
You out of that
call
point.
Me. Yep.
You're out of that point. Another hot topic, or that I hear people talk about too, Mr. Warren, out there is, public land. As far as public land, Mud Motors, Arkansas, that's something that they're looking at right now. And I don't know, I want to see if that's something maybe you've heard. I'm sure you've heard it, but I want to kind of get your take on it. On public land in Arkansas, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're possibly looking at banning, air-cooled engines as far as surface drives and stuff like that goes on those public lands. Is that something that you have a little bit of knowledge on?
No, yeah. They. It's a people problem. It's just like guns don't kill people. People kill people. Okay, it's the same thing as a gun. And the number one issue I saw was these exhausts, putting these hot exhausts on there. I was instrumental in getting that banned on WMAs. I went to Joe McPherson, who's a state senator. He's not a state senator anymore. He was on the Wildlife Fisheries Commission now. And he called me. It was a deal with all this flotation deal going on. The state did some changes on issuing hull ID numbers and said, is it going to affect me? I said, no, it's not going to affect me. I've always complied. I said, what you need to do is do something about this noise. He said, what are you talking about? I said, all these hot exhausts. Yeah, I hear one crank up every morning. I'm in a deer stand, so I can hear that guy 5 miles. I said, that's a problem. I said, those things, I own 2 airboats, okay? And I've used them, still own them, and they don't start during hunting season on my property. I don't use them during hunting season. They're tools, they're a great item. Those exhausts on those per se mud motors are louder than my airboats. Okay, that's the worst thing you can have on a piece of equipment going duck hunting. But anyway, they came up with a ruling that can't run any non-stock exhaust on any WMA. They tried to do it statewide, and I went to the commission meeting to push it, but the rest of the commission members would go for it. They call it an overreach. So we already have laws against loud exhaust. Well, they're not enforcing them. And if it was going through the commission, I think the wildlife officials would have enforced that. But that's going to get those exhausts and people running boats places they shouldn't be running, like scouting for ducks. They're running all the ducks off, and like Passaloo and Chaffly Delta and the Wax Lake Outlet. These people they go hunting and they riding around all morning. That's killing the duck and they're running all the ducks off. When nothing but a long tail, they go ride, look, find ducks and hunt. Well, now the surface drive, they cover the whole mouth of the river in 3 hours. They'll run every duck out the country. They're all sitting out in East Bay. An agent told me one time was at the wildlife camp at Passaloo. Sawdust was full of ducks. Camp overlooks that area. Day before the season, it was full of ducks. First surface drive came through there, half of them got out and left. Second one come through, the next half got out and left. By the time the third one come through, they were all gone. They all ran out and went and sat out there in the East Bay where nobody bothered them. The people need to run these boats with discretion. They'll never stop doing it. They'll continue to do that, but the people are going to get the motors banned is what's going to happen. Running them where they shouldn't be running them, and especially those exhausts. They did pass that in Arkansas on exhaust a couple of years ago. That's already been done there. And Louisiana just did it last year on WMH. You can't run a loud exhaust.
That's right.
That's our number one problem. Is the whole thing is a people problem. It's not the engine problem. If the engine uses it discreetly, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And that's the whole issue right there is the way people are running them.
It's mankind, of course, messing it up and not following the guidelines and the rules. And that I could see exactly what you're saying. But I know a lot of people ask me about that. And I even get customers, Mr. Warren, that are coming in. They kind of considering a surface drive, or they like, well, I've had an outboard, but man, I could really use this, because it's tougher to get to where I fish at. It's tougher to get to where I hunt at. But I've heard that they could outlaw them. So that comes up from time to time, and that's why I wanted you to kind of clarify what you know. And you said it perfectly. It's a people problem. It's not a product problem, but it's the people that are abusing it. And therefore what's going to ultimately, possibly cause us to, not be able to use these things no more.
Well, I said, it's just, anywhere in Louisiana, a lot of people, they want to come duck hunt Louisiana. They don't understand all of Louisiana is just about privately owned. It's all owned by large oil companies, landholders like Miami Corporation, Continental Land and Fire, just Apache, Amoco owned what we bought over there. And you got Delacroix Corporation. All these oil companies, landholders lease all this property for hunting. It's all private. The first thing on every duck lease is no airboats, period, because of the noise.
Yeah.
And that's the next thing they need to do is enforce this noise level, and that's all on the private land, but the WMAs, and then like in Arkansas where they're trying to ban them, that's all going to be WMA. They're not going to be able to ban them on private property. I mean, I own private property. I run an airboat anytime I want, but I don't because I'm smarter than that. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's well said, I think. So, well, Mr. Warren, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of history. You actually own two pieces of property, or I say two pieces of property. You have two areas that you frequently duck hunt that you own, correct? And tell us a little bit about that. I know you have a place down in Hackberry, Louisiana. A lot of people are familiar. If they follow you, they know about Hackberry. You stay there quite a bit. But you also have another piece of property. So if you don't mind, let's talk a little bit about that, how you got involved with those two pieces of property.
My property in Hackberry, you're there, my phone just beat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I hunted there. I started hunting in Hackberry when I got in this business. The guy that had the property that was leasing American Sportsman Club, he needs some engines. We worked out a 3-side deal, and I started hunting over there. He eventually became my brother-in-law. His wife, my wife, were first cousins. Then they got divorced, and then he married my wife's sister. Long story and all that. We were hunting on 8,000 acres, and I hunted there. I stayed 7 days, shot a 10 duck limit every day. And I told him, I said, man, this place is unbelievable. I said, I've never seen nothing like this. Drive up here, get in a boat, ride 3 miles, shoot all the ducks you want. He said, oh, this ain't nothing. The place got black balls better. I said, how can it be better than this? Oh, we just shoot pintails over there. I said, oh, I don't believe that. He said, well, you come back. I was going home at that time to go work. I had engines to build. It was the first year in business. When you come back next week, I'll take you over there. I said, all right. Came back. We built 20 Godells, went delivered them all different deals, and then drove over there. Me, him, and his wife went to Black Bar, which is the place I wound up buying. And it was a lease that family had. And me, him, and his wife shot 30 pintails.
Oh, my God.
And I'd never seen anything like that. I mean, it just, you know how many gadwalls and tail and wedgeons and everything else you got passed up to shoot 30 pintails?
A lot.
In 79, I hunted with 2 of his brothers that I actually bought the property with and a guest of theirs. In 4 days, we shot 120 pintail drakes out of the same blind. I ran out of film the first day. I got one picture of 40 pintail drakes. I had that posted earlier on Facebook. We killed 40 drake pintails that first day. And then, it was unbelievable. And that property's all owned by Amoco. And when Amoco did the merger with BP, they had to start selling off assets not to be such a monopoly. And they started selling off what they call their fee lands. They sold everything at the White Lake Club first, but they didn't sell the White Lake Club all around White Lake. Next sale was at Mermentau. All that was high bidder. We got to Hackberry. They said, we're going to let the leaseholders have the first option. You make us a good offer, we'll take it. It won't go for bid. And that's the only reason we was able to buy it. They had the option to buy it. Well, I bought it with 2 of the brothers and a nephew. And time went on, that was back in 99 when we bought it and bought the place. But I bought 70% interest in it, and they each owned 10%. And Philip, the oldest one, he got out. I bought him out, and there's just 2 left now. And basically just me and my son and one of them hunting it. Basically, was always hunting it. But we shot so many ducks, and it was phenomenal. And we had good years and bad years. The last several been really tough. Last year with the drought turned out to be pretty good. And we were going to start out pretty good this year with all this storm and weather and high water and south wind. I think that's going to slow us down a little bit, but hopefully it's going to pick up. After I bought this place, I really wasn't looking to buy anything else. This other piece of property came up. Friends of mine looking at buying it. My friend Jimmy Nugent told me about it. He said, man, I've been looking at this piece of place to buy for investment. And told me where it was and showed me the pictures of the camp. I said, man, I'd like to look at that. So you think you might be interested? I said, I don't know. I might be interested. Let's go look at it. We went up there and looked at it, drove around it. I said, man, don't let this get away. We got to have this place. And we bought it. And that was in 01. And the first thing I did was buy a long reach excavator that sat on that thing. I put about 4,000 hours on that machine, cleaning ditches, putting in water control structures, just enhancing the property. And that's part of the duck hunting problem right now. What I did there and the work I've done in Hackberry, everybody's doing that from here to Canada. That combined with weather is why we're not seeing, that's my reason for why we're not seeing the ducks that we used to get. It's all habitat improvement in water where places never had water before. But anyway, bought that place, and we could not kill enough ducks to make a gravy. I'll never forget one of my hunting partners, Ricky Lane. We went hunt one morning, and we split up so we could, try to do better, not hunting together. And we killed 3 ducks total. And this is probably one of the prettiest places you ever want to see. It's called Black River Point. It's where the Black and Red River come together. Got sloughs all over it. I mean, it's a gorgeous place. It's half of it's ag lands, cotton and soybeans. It's all swales and ridges. You got low bottoms in it. And I never forget, we came in that morning and Ricky made the best statement I ever heard in my life. He says, "Man, this place ain't nothing but a show dog with fleas." I laughed so hard I couldn't stop laughing. I said, "That's the best description I've heard in my life." I went hunting with. I mean, it's exactly what it was. It was a show dog with fleas. You couldn't find a prettier place. But that was in bought in 01, 02, 3, and 4. Well, I didn't hardly kill anything in Hackberry. And then, 02 and 3. 1, 2, and 3 is when we had this place. And I went hunting in Stuttgart, shooting video with Avery Outdoors with Fred Zink. And I was telling him about it. We were hunting at Kendall's Reservoir shooting video. And I was telling him about the place. He says, "Man, you need to be planting corn, and more corn." I said, "That's what I'm going to do." I went and bought an old dinosaur tractor. I bought a big 4650 John Deere, 4-wheel drive cabin there. Bought that tractor for $14,000. Now, that's cheap, but look, it costs to keep one of them running because you fixing it all the time because of the age of it. Anyway, I started planting corn. And I tell you, I'll take a bad year with corn because they coming with that corn. And the first thing they're shoving is wood ducks. Well, we're out of the corn business. No, they're coming. They're coming to that corn. It's deadly. And we started killing ducks then. And the biggest problem is they come at night. That's the first thing you got to get past. And then time. Yeah, they get time. It gets better. It got better, and it got better. And but we're out of the corn business. That's done because at that time we had no hogs and almost no deer. There wasn't 10 deer on the place we bought it because Louisiana Delta Plantation had once owned that place, and everybody hunted it, ran dogs on it, and ran everything off of it. We've done a lot of management to it. We planted, put a couple hundred acres back in trees. It's fixing to all go back in trees this year coming. But anyway, now we have hogs, deer, and bears. Few bears, not many. So the corn planting is done. We got so many deer. We're on DMAP, and the state wants us to kill 35 does a year. So, man, we don't shoot that many, but we got a tremendous deer herd on it right now. In fact, I killed deer, this first deer I ever killed with horns this past year. I killed a deer, scored 159, and this is the biggest deer that's ever been shot on the place. And we've killed some really, really good ones through the years. I don't even hunt them. That's the first buck I killed with horns other than accidentally shooting the button buck that I didn't intend to shoot, trying to shoot a duck. But it's going to be a fabulous deer hunting place. The duck hunting can be good if you spend the money, pump the water, plant the crop. This year we got a bunch of millet planted, and we left one hole wet year round like Dale does. Dale's place, he's 3 miles from me, Dale Bordelon.
Yeah, y'all close.
Yeah, I can hear him shooting. He's right across the river.
Across the river.
Yeah, he's across Red River from me. If I stand on the levee on Red River and shoot a 30-06, I can hit him. And I can hear him over there shooting, but he's got a wet lake that stays wet year round, got aquatics in it. So what we did this year, we got a lake on ours that we drain every year, and we plant it or grow moist soil plants in it, manage it for ducks. And we've done well on it at times, but we're doing an experiment this year. We left it wet, and it's grown up about 3/4 covered duck potato right now. Same thing you see at the mouth of the river. And we're going to see how that's going to work out. And we're just trying to do something a little bit different. The cost of this thing is turned into a money pit. Everybody wants to hunt North Louisiana and kill mallards just like I do, but it's an expensive proposition. It's not free. I mean, you're gonna spend a lot of money hunting in that country on equipment, maintaining equipment, and maintaining the property. And what people got to understand is just as important to get water off of something as to put water on it. That's what you got. That you got to understand in managing property like that. I've learned a lot since we bought that place about moist soil plants, and a lot of people call me for advice all the time, and I'll help anybody because I've had people help me. I had Randy Myers from Wildlife Fisheries. He's like assistant secretary was. I'm not sure what his position is now. He came out there also with the guy that's a deer biologist right now. I can't think of his name. He came out, tell me what to do, how to drain it, for moist soil, and all that works. It all helps. But it's a chore hunting in that part of the world. We got a guy hired full time now. I did all the work up there in the past, but I'm wore out. Can't do it all anymore. So we got to have a guy hired full time, and he's working every day. Keeping the place up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a full time job, like you said.
Well, it's 2,200. It's 2,200 acres also. Half of it's ag land, and we got somebody else's farming. We're not doing any of the farming. And then, but it's all going to WRE, the Wetland Reserve Easement, which used to be called WRP. And they're going to come in and plant trees on it, pay us for the property, and we're going to still own it, but it's going to be a whole different ball game. You don't have to deal with the crop anymore. Yeah. But the deer hunting is going to shoot through the roof. I mean, it's going to really enhance that. But we're going to still have ducks. We'll still have duck holes to plant, manage. Just all the ones we have now and more. We'll be creating more places I couldn't flood before because we had crops. We're going to be able to flood. So it's going to be a change on that part. But I've got two great places, but hunting has been off the past several years. Weather and habitat improvement above us. If we get the right weather, get cold, dry years, what Louisiana needs to see.
Cold and dry, you said?
Yeah, dry above. Everything above us needs to be dry. Yeah, and they got to come.
Yeah, gotcha. Hey, you mentioned Fred Zink a while ago. Everybody who waterfowl hunts, knows Fred Zink from AVNX. What's your history with Fred, Mr. Warren? Do you have any Fred Zink stories?
He always hunted and got hooked up with Avery, carving those decoys, finishing carving the decoys, and product development for him. And then he branched on his own, started making his calls and making the AVNX the way he did all the greenhead gear decoys for Avery. And then he broke off, did his own thing on his own, did AVNX and had his calls he was making. And he saw the competition coming in these duck calls. He saw it, and then he sold out to Plano Synergy, and they kept him hired on. And then that's sold out to MSM. And he's still working for them. He's doing real well, doing that. And he's done like me. He's bought property and enhanced it, made it better. And he's buying property and flipping holes now, buying deer hunting property and flipping them up in Ohio. And he came to video. He's doing video for DU. He came a couple of years ago. I said, Fred, we ain't got no ducks. I said, well, we set to come. We're going to come. I said, all right, come on. And he was on the phone with his son. He came the weekend before Christmas, which we didn't do anything at all. And they shot him till the last day. That season closed when he was down here with me the weekend before Christmas. He said generally halfway or 2/3 through the season, they usually locked up and they can't hunt. Everything's frozen and the ducks and geese are gone. He said the last 5 years they ain't missed a hunt. He said nothing's froze them out. Really? And that's just they don't get cold. It's not getting cold. If it don't get cold there, it certainly ain't getting cold enough here.
That's right.
They used to lock up and everything would leave. Another thing he told me was funny was Canada geese. He said it can lock up and freeze, but if it's going to thaw within 2 or 3 days, and geese won't leave. But when you get that front comes in and it's going to stay frozen, they leave before it gets there. They know it's coming. He said they got something in their head tells them it's time to go. Yeah. Said, and those geese will leave when they know it's going to stay frozen.
Damn.
But they hunting. They're not missing a hunt. They're not getting locked out like they used to years ago.
Yeah.
But he's doing well. I mean, he told me, he said the duck call business, he saw what was happening. Everybody was stocked up and they didn't need any duck calls. And he had the opportunity to sell out and made out real well. and got stock with the company that when they bought him out, and he's still working for them. Still, product development, I guess, and whatever else.
He don't have all the headache, but he's getting a paycheck.
That's right. No, he's where he wants to be right now. He got rid of the headache.
Sounds like it. We got we got a couple of people that's been chiming in on the chat, Mr. Warren, and hooked with Brian. He put, "Do you still hunt with Phil?" So I'm assuming Phil Robertson he's talking about. You want to talk a little bit about that, about the history with the Duckman stuff?
I met Phil working shows. A friend of mine was selling his calls with Paul Dubuisson, who I started hunting the swamp with. And I called him. I'd met him, and we traveled to Minnesota working shows, did a lot of different things together. And I called him. I said, "Man, you need to come over here hunting." We had every duck in the country back there at Marpaw. This was about 84, I think.
And this is Marpaw Swamp, because I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, this is Marpaw Swamp. This is on Mississippi Bayou, south of Lake Marpaw. He never would come. But where he was hunting, he didn't have a good place to hunt. They were hunting on a creek by his house that was flooded from the lock and dam system on the Washita River. And pool stage is 16 foot above what Low River used to be. And it backed up into a creek where they hunted. They had a blind there, and they were off the flyway. They didn't kill that many ducks there. He had some guys came here from Texas, and I think they wouldn't kill anything. He called me up. He said, "You got any ducks down there?" I said, "I've been killing them every day." I said, "I got more than I can shoot." He said, "You got room for us?" "Yeah, come on." He said, "I got these two guys." "Yeah, y'all come on." So they got there that afternoon. We went out and hunted. I love telling this story. I dropped them two guys off, and we went on a little further. It was in the airboat. Then we stopped, and he looked in the boat. "Where's the decoys?" So we don't need none. He looked at me like I fell off a vegetable truck.
No decoys.
So, man, I ain't no decoy. I didn't bring no decoys. She said, "Oh, man, I forgot my shotgun." I said, "Well, we'll take turns shooting yours." Then he really looked at me like I fell off a vegetable truck. We walked away from the airboat, and them gray ducks was in there. Real short timber, thin swamp, all duckweed, and hot grass growing. He started calling. They started working. Pow! He shot one. I said, "Give me a gun." Took his gun from him. Call, here they come. Pow! Kill one. Hand the gun back to him. We took turns. We killed 10 gray ducks. The limit was 5 then. And he said, "Man, this is something, man. You got some gray ducks in here." I said, "Oh, yeah." So second split mallards are going to show up. And he said, "Man, we need to make a video here." I said, "Yeah, we do." The next day, we hunted a different piece of property right next to that one that I had leased. And we shot limit of mallards that day. The 4 of us shot full limit of mallards, 4 mallards and whatever, maybe 1 gray duck, whatever, went with that. Yeah. And so the next year in 85 is when we started to shot the video. We filmed 13 days over 2 hunting seasons to make that video. Everybody said, "Boy, I bet that was a bunch." 2
seasons, you said.
Yeah, over 2 hunting seasons. If you watch the video, you see we got old style camo the first year. The second year we got mossy oak. Mossy oak gave us all them clothes. And yeah, that was the second season. But anyway, I had the ducks then. It was unbelievable how many ducks we had in the woods. And but we made the video. Things went on, and he moved on. I moved on. And Phil, they started endorsing products and people paying the money, and that's when we kind of parted ways at that point.
Yeah, I understand that. There's been so many rumors about that old Duckman video, Mr. Warren. I want to ask you this. This is one I heard for years. I heard this from several people. They said when y'all filmed the Duckman video, the original one, that y'all slept in the swamp. Like, were y'all sleeping in the duck hole?
Because no. I had a camp. We had a nice camp. No, we had a nice camp we built. The only thing we didn't have was air conditioning. We had hot and cold running water. I drilled a water well. That was one of the 5 camps I built.
Okay.
And first thing before we built the camp, we drilled the water well. And we worked on that camp from about April to October. And it flooded from a hurricane before we ever slept in it. Wow. And but anyway, we built it. It was 18 by 18. Had a bathroom off to the side where the water well was, and walkways all on the water in the swamp. You had walkways and docks and decks. There's no land. And then about 2 years later, we added on to it. We had a 12 by 18 bedroom, so we had more beds because we had people. Everybody started bringing their kids and all that. I moved out of that camp. I had another lease right next to it and moved a houseboat over there. I moved out of that comfortable camp to go stay in a houseboat with no water, no nothing. I can take my members, and I can take my members' guests, and I can take my members' kids. But what I drew the line was the members' guest kids. Those too many. I said, I got to go. And that's when I moved out of that camp and went to stay at that houseboat. And I hunted both leases at that time. At one time, I had over 10,000 acres either leased or permission to hunt on.
Yeah.
Through Marshes Swamp, from Petty Mid all the way down to Blind River, all the way down south of Marshes at Mississippi Bayou. I killed them every day, till they quit. And when the Salvina came, that was the end. Couldn't kill a duck after that. It was all over with.
I've heard guys say that was the best duck hunting that they had ever experienced, Mr. Warren. As far they said, if you wanted to put, you think of Stuttgart or Arkansas or places like that, they said Marshes Swamp was that place back in the day. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. We were hunting one day. Tom Kleber and I, the lease I had by where we had that houseboat. We were hunting. This is a hunt I remember till the end of time. Limit was 3 ducks, 2 mallards. Killing the third duck was a problem because all we had there was mallards at that place. And most of the time you only shot 2 ducks. I dropped him off and we put the boat up, come back with pirogue. It was moon was shining, real clear, cold morning, just a little breeze, good breeze blowing. Everything you wanted to hunt in the woods. And I got in the blind. I said, man, it's going to be a great hunt this morning. I said, oh, yeah, it's going to be good. Now, killing that extra duck was a problem. The mallards wasn't going to be a problem.
Yeah.
They started coming. We wouldn't even shoot. We just let them white. And they get up and leave. Generally, when it's like that, we shoot them on the rise. The deal is to call them in and light them before you shot and shoot them when they're getting up. And we done lit 3 or 4 bunches. And a wood duck flew by on his side. He jumped up and shot us. Oh, man, we needed that bad. A little while later, a widgeon came straight over the blind. I jumped up by shooting 870 pump. Shot, boom, missed, boom, fell in the blind. I said, I want to see you beat that. Now, this blind is like the blinds I'm hunting with at Hackberry, like the floating blinds we build now, except it wasn't floating. Yep. Got a 3-foot roof and a 2-foot shooting porch. And I got 2 layers of military camo hanging in front of my face where nothing can see in the blind. They come in, you can see through that camo, you can watch them, call them, and work them. They're lighting in the hole, they cannot see you. It was so many ducks that morning. He done shot 1 greenhead. He had 4 or 5 come in and got up. He just shot 1. Next bunch come in, they got up. I didn't even shoot. He said, you gonna shoot us? Don't worry about me. I'm good. I saw what was happening. A little while later, had about 30 came in. 30 was a big bunch for us in those woods. Generally, they'd paired 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Above 8 is a big bunch in the woods. Had about 30 came in. I'm looking at all of them's feet. I'm about cross-eyed and looking for a band because the sun was shining. I had done this before. One with the band lit at about 30 yards is the furthest duck lit in the hole. And I took my gun, and I had the front of the blind is low where kids could shoot. And that camo webbing is hanging below the front of the blind. So I had to stick my gun under the webbing and turn it sideways so I could see the beak. And I shot that duck on the water. Pow! And man, my buddy said, hey, you shot that duck on the water? So I sure did. He said, where you going? I was going to get the duck. We never picked up the duck, so the duck couldn't hide. There was no grass. All he had was trees and water. He said, where you going? I'm going to get that duck. He said, that duck got a band on it. I said, sure does. Went and got it. He said, man, I can't believe you see that. I said, man, I got good eyes, and I still do. I sat in the blind, got back in the blind. He done shot his 2 mallards, had the wood duck, had a widgeon, and I had 1 greenhead. I said, I tell you what, I said, I'm going to kill another one with a band on it. He says, there ain't no way. An hour later, I killed a sucker one.
I'll be damned.
I only shot two mallards, and both of them had bands. That story got out. Somebody heard that, and they called me and said, hey, man, I heard you got so many ducks over there, you only shoot the ones with the bands on them. I said, well, that's partially true. I said it was a good hunt, I will tell you that. But I've killed.
They thought you were getting picky.
I've killed about 9 that I saw the band on a duck's leg. If I would have known that early on when I started hunting in the woods, I got 64 bands I was taking. I'd have 164 if I would have been doing it, hunting like I did that day. That was at the tail end. That was the last year we had ducks. That was in 98. No,
let me ask you this, Warren. When it was in its heyday, what made it so special? Why would the ducks come to that area?
Food, duckweed and smartweed. It was all duckweed. And that's why we had a lot of gray ducks in there too. If you find a hole somewhere in North Louisiana full of duckweed, it's going to be a gray duck hole. They love duckweed. The mallards ate it too, but we killed mallards, gray ducks, widgeon, about 2 or 3 teal a year, and we kill a pintail about every second or third year. But it was mostly mallards and gray ducks and a lot of widgeons. And them widgeons and grays are called just like a mallard. You hit a mallard call, bam, 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 man, it'll lock and turn and roll in there just like a greenhead. It didn't matter. But the food was right, the cover was right, the location was right. The ducks follow Mississippi River. He can see that swamp. It's right there.
Yeah.
We were about 7 miles from Mississippi River as a crow flies, where we were at, and we were on the south side of Waterfowl. One of the hottest holes, one of the best holes I've ever seen, which is when it was, I ain't gonna say it was private, part of it was private, was Man Shack. That the first time I went there in '69, I ain't never seen nothing like that. A black cloud got up, sounded like a jet took off New Orleans Airport and landed. Damn. It's just, that was the noise the ducks were making when they got up and set. This is another great story everybody needs to hear. My neighbor around the corner, Ronnie Whitaker, he's about 10 years older than me. He wore out worse than I am. He found Man Shack, and he was killing ducks. And a good friend of mine, Bubba Deere, who went to school together. I seen him the other day. We had lunch together. We've hunted quite a bit together. He hunts below Vidalia right now. Yeah. Hunted all over. Him and another friend of mine, Dwight Falcon, they hunted together a lot. When Whitaker found Man Shack and killing all them ducks, and Bubba kept, hey, where you killing them ducks? Where you killing them ducks? His dad worked with Ronnie at Wyandotte. He wouldn't tell him. And finally he broke down and told him. He said, look, as you can go down past Man Shack, and you're going to turn to Cecil's Canal. You get to the end of Cecil's Canal, you're going to stop and get out of the boat and pick up one of them pull boat ditches, and you start walking alongside of it. And keep walking, you get tired, you keep walking, you get really tired, you keep on walking, you get really, really tired, keep on going. He said, if you can't take another step, you throw your gun in the mud. I said, I ain't going a step further. He says, you're halfway there. And they went and they shot them, and they killed them, and they couldn't pack everything they shot. Came out and they went back again. I said, man, y'all need to bring me. Oh man, you never make it. Yeah, I will. No, you never make it. So finally brought me, and for whatever reason, we didn't go that way. We went around in the lake where they had a low spot in the trees. We pulled up on the lake shore and said, leave your gun, come see quick. And somebody out there shot. That's when Galva Hunting Club was over there by Galva Canal. I don't know who or what owned that, where that prairie was, but they never ran us out of there. Somebody shot, and that's when that cloud got up, and it sounded like a jet took off at New Orleans Airport.
They were sitting in the prairie, those birds?
Well, it didn't look like it does now. It wasn't big open water. It was all potholes with alligator grass. It was just little potholes. Okay. It wasn't wide open like it is now. Gotcha. And they went out there and shot all the ducks they could stand. I walked around there. I shot 4.5 box shells. I ain't killed a duck, but I couldn't hit nothing. That was about 1969. I was about in the 9th grade when that happened. Damn. And then after high school, we started hunting there, and Jerry, my business partner, this is before we started business, went there to hunt. And I'd been past Lou hunting a couple of times, and anyway, we went there, it opened at 12 noon, and we were on the northeast side of that prairie and the edge of the trees. And it opened at noon, and all teal were coming buzzing. And we ain't shooting no teal, we want to shoot big ducks. Like all the people in New Orleans only want to shoot big ducks. I said, what you mean? You going to pass up teal, shoot gadwalls? Oh, yeah. I said, well, I ain't passing up no teal, but at that time I did. And when the gray ducks didn't come, the teal quit flying. So I'll never forget, we said, let's get out of here. We're going to pass the loop. And it was about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the evening. And we pushed Poland out of there. And there was Bubba Deere And another friend of mine, Raymond Choir, was there, leaned up against the tree. He said, "Where y'all going? Where y'all going?" I said, "We're going to kill some ducks. We're going to Pass Lou." And we started hunting down at Pass Lou. Went down there and hunted there till '77 when I started hunting in Hackberry. But I tell everybody about pushing a pirogue. Like right now, I've been building Go Devils for 47 years. I got riding the Go Devil for another 47 years to catch up with 1 million miles as I pushed the pirogue before I started building Go Devils. Yeah, when I hunted Man Shack before we had the right boat to go there and hunt, we go there and try to go around that lake. I finally came around from Highway 51, and it was a 4.5 hour push. I found my way in there, and I'd push 4.5 hours to go hunt that prairie where I didn't have to get in Lake Pontchartrain.
Wow.
That's what we'd go across what was called Succo's. Hugo Succo had that lease. That was Martin Box on that property at the time. Now, I didn't know it then, but Succo had the trapping lease on it. And we pushed across that, went down a branch, turned on a main line, and followed Lakeshore all the way to prairie. 4.5 hours. We go in there and get there, go during the night, or get the evening before, spend the night at the pirogue to hunt, and come out the next morning. Yeah. Oh, I was mad at them. You know, we hunted.
You had
a duck, we'd hunt. We'd go try to kill them.
I can imagine hunting pressure around you wasn't an issue at that time if you're doing that.
There wasn't much hunting pressure, not at that time. But if there was one place I could buy, if they would sell it to me and I had the money to buy it, but it'd take a 345 Caterpillar excavator with a short boom on it that you could dig up the stumps, I'd buy Man Shack, the prairie, and levee it off, the whole thing. And do water control on it, turn to a more soil unit. You'd have we killed every kind of duck known to man. We killed the old squaw hen one time. We killed canvasback, redheads, mallards, pintails, gadwalls, spoonbills, teal. But the only thing we didn't kill was the cinnamon teal, which I had no place ever killed one of them. Lance killed one down the mouth of the river one year, and I got here in my office mounted. But yeah, that place is phenomenal. And what the problem with it now is just too much hunting pressure.
Well, I was going to say, Mr. Warren, I hunt there because it's not too far, and I take my sons there. And you're right, you will kill every kind of species known to man. I killed a golden eye in there several seasons ago. Just ruddy ducks. I mean, all kind of stuff you'll see. You never know what's in there, but there's so much hunting pressure.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's accessible. Back then, in that day, when we hunted there, you had to push a pirogue to hunt it. There were no Go Devils. Mud boat couldn't run in there. They had a guy out there one time. The water was real high. Had a little inboard motorized pirogue, and we used those too. I had some with 5 horsepower Briggs engine we use out there, but you were forever fighting it, trying to get where you wanted to go. And finally, I gave up on all that. I just went with one man in a pirogue by yourself. And that's how we hunted it. The Go Devil changed all that, man. That changed it dramatically. But the hunting pressure, there's just not enough land for the people that want to hunt. They say they're selling less hunting licenses than they ever did. I ain't seeing that with hunting pressure. There's more people hunting now than ever have. It's what I see.
I mean, especially on
the public land.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell people my theory, just to keep it short, is I think with all the the hyacinth, the lilies, the salvinia, all that stuff, maybe the land, we have the land, but it really shrinks it down to where everybody can hunt. So therefore, it seems like everybody's on top of each other. That's just my theory on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's exactly right. It's just the water hyacinth's a issue, but they can come and go. At Marpaw, we had them at Blind River. They covered us up for 3 years and it disappeared. They'll form amine salts and kill themselves. At Mississippi Bayou, they covered us up 1 year. We didn't kill anything. Next year, they were gone. Just the water's got to get right, and they'll eradicate themselves. But the salvina, once it comes, then the flotorn grows out of it, then it's over. They're going to do this, talking on a management standpoint, everybody's hoping this Hope Canal diversion is going to fix the swamp. My theory, it ain't going to fix it, because once that flotorn's established, it ain't going away. The whole deal, I've been to 2 meetings on that diversion, and that's right where I hunted. Yeah, I used to launch in the Hope Canal to get to one of my leases, and ran down the Hope Canal. I know every tree in that swamp down there. And what's going to happen when they cut that river water in there? That's going to enhance the freshwater fishing tenfold in the Blind River system. It's going to be phenomenal.
Fish
I
is
mean,
gonna
it's going to really be good. But the whole key behind this thing, behind that freshwater diversion, is to save that land bridge between Marpaw and Pontchartrain. That's the whole key to this diversion.
the storm barrier.
Well, not to lose that land. You know, they're losing so much of it. That was all timber that was cut, which you can see all pull boat ditches from aerial photographs. That was all heavy timber. And then the saltwater, when they dug the Mr. Go, that ruined that over there, just like the Calcasieu and the Sabine Ship Channel did us up in southwest Louisiana. That let all saltwater get in. When they plugged the Mr. Go, see, you never had salvina and hyacinths at LaBranch wetlands until they plugged the Mr. Go. Once they plugged it, now you got salvina and hyacinths, which are a problem. But it's not degrading the marsh like it was. You know, when you got your salinity is too high, you know, you have nothing. You have no food. You have anything. The marsh is going to produce the most ducks is going to have salinity in it. You know, wedging grass is your number one duck food on the coast. That takes between 5 and 10 parts per thousand. Seawater is 34. You know, but you know what comes when you get too fresh, like my property is too fresh most of the time now, and you start growing undesirables. You know, the first thing comes back after a saltwater burn is desirable food like sago pondweed and Eurasian milfoil. Then once you get too fresh, then you start getting muskgrass, which is called cara, and hydrilla and other kind of grasses. On a scale of 1 to 10, cara and hydrilla are about a 2. That sago pondweed and wedging grass is a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. If you got that, you got ducks. And it takes the right mix of water for the right vegetation to grow. And it's hard to manage that unless you got an impoundment where you can cut salt water in and fresh water and have a freshwater source. But it's all luck of the draw in a lot of places, you know, and things are changing and you know, everything is degrading. But you know, hitting on one other management deal, this mid-Barataria deal needs to happen. Mm-hmm. This thing, what Nungesser's done, has really got me fired up over stopping it. They put a stop on that diversion. Yeah, I went to Washington with the National Wildlife Federation to talk to senators and congressmen to push that project through. And it was all done, said and done, and Nungesser done messed up the deal. We had meetings before we met with the congressmen and senators, and I told everybody, I said, your problem ain't going to be the Corps getting this permit. Your problem is going to be the oyster fishermen and the shrimpers. And that's exactly what happened, just as I called it. And that diversion really needs to be done bad, and it need about 10 more just like it. You know, that's the only thing that's going to save South Louisiana.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I was going to ask you, Mr. Warren, like, what's the future? Where do you see Louisiana waterfowl hunting in the next decade? What's the outlook in your opinion?
That's an unknown. It's kind of hard to answer that because it's all going to depend on weather and water. Dry. Remember what I just told you earlier? Cold weather and dry is what you need. If it's dry above us, it's cold, they got to come. You know, 83 was the most ducks I'd ever seen until 89 hit, because 89 was colder. Everything was locked up. They couldn't kill a duck in Arkansas. We had every duck in the country down here, you know, in 83 and 89. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take weather. The weather patterns have to change. And all this, you know, they talk about global warming. Well, the earth has been warming and cooling since the beginning of time. These liberals ain't convinced me that the CO that everything is making is making the earth warm. Yeah, it's getting warmer. I don't believe we're causing it. I believe it's just a cycle it's going through.
Gotcha.
You know, and that's just my opinion on that. You know, and they're doing a lot of things for the wrong reasons right now, and that's a whole nother argument.
Yeah. You're fire for the sport, Mr. Warren. It shows through. You feel as you're getting a little older now that you're losing any fire for what you used to do, or is it as strong as ever?
I still enjoy going, and I'm still going to go. Back in the day, I hunted every day. When we were hunting Waterfowl, I came home on Thursday night. The only day I missed was Christmas. When it was 30 days, I hunted 29.
I actually heard a story you told about one of the kids was delivered around Christmas, and Miss Donna had to call you out of the woods.
No, Mason came. I don't have kids during hunting season.
Okay.
When it was time to get pregnant for Lance, I told my wife, I said, I'm not having no baby during hunting season. And
Yeah.
she thought I was kidding.
Yeah.
I said, all right, if you're not pregnant by this time, we're going to stop.
Yeah.
Well, we got to that time and she wasn't pregnant, so it's time to stop. Can I tell you, there ain't nothing meaner than a woman that wants to get pregnant that can't.
Oh,
Okay, and especially when you pull one like that. Look, you talk about hot. And then time passed. Lance was born like March the 5th. Everything worked out fine.
Right after
Did the same thing for Mason. But she got pregnant when it was time to start. She got pregnant immediately. So Mason was due, I don't know, about end of February.
Yeah.
And I left to go hunting. And I looked at her. It was about the last week. I had two guys come in from St. Louis. The guy was handling my advertising. I looked at her. I said, when the doctor said you was due? And she told me the date. I said, you ain't going to make it. I said, you getting too big. She was swelling. What happened, see, Mason's got Down syndrome. And he had an abdominal atresia, which is common for a Down child. And what that is his intestines is blocked. And when that child, and I didn't know all this, this is what I learned after I had him. When he's in the womb, he's taking in the amniotic fluid and consuming it. Well, when his intestines is blocked, he couldn't take the fluid in. So that's why she was swelling. Man, her legs were getting big. She was getting so big. Well, we were out there hunting. We had hunted. It was a slow day. We hunted about noon. We came in, and I'm cooking breakfast. This is before we had cell phones. We had a VHF radio, and I hear an airboat coming, and I said, "Who the hell is that?" Oh, it's a Strawberry. So what's he doing this early? He hunted in the evening. He never hunted in the morning.
Yeah.
So what's he doing coming this early? He come in and said, you got to go. You having a baby. I said, oh, Lord. So your water broke. They got him in the hospital. So I got to leave them. So he's there to take care of my guests. And I get there. So what you trying to have his baby without me? He says, no. I said, this is happening. So the nurses explained all this to me. They did a sonogram and we believe this child has Down syndrome. I said, looking at the lines on his hands, and the distance from his knees to his hips was short. Because most you look down, look at Mason, he's short. All Down's children are short.
Correct.
He's not a child anymore. He's 35 now.
Yeah.
So says, she explained to me it's a chromosome shortage. And I said, well, how you fix that? He said, well, you don't. And so she had the baby. Everything went fine. And I went back out because it was last weekend of the season out there with my guests. And Tommy, who was one of my hunting partners, who I shot the two banded mallards with, he's an attorney. Yeah. He called me we're talking on the radio. He says, you back there, your wife just had that baby? He says, yeah. He says, I'm going to represent your wife for her divorce. That's what he told me. So anyway, so Mason had to go immediately, had to have surgery. He went right out after he was born. They did surgery on his intestines. They fixed all that, and everything was fine. He was in neonatal intensive care for like 6 weeks. And I'm in there, we're up there every night. Don and I see him every night. And I'm up there. I said, man, why me, man? This is horrible. I got this baby with this handicap, Down syndrome. And I'm looking around. I see all these babies in there with all these. You can't count all tubes hanging out. Them babies that are half length of him. I said, man, these kids might not make it out here. Mine's coming out of here, and we're going to be fine. And that was when the why me went out the window. That was the end of that story. But he's been healthy. He's got a little hearing loss. Most Down's children they're born with a hole in their heart, or they got heart problems. He has had 0 heart issues, and that's the plus. But he doesn't have any more problems than any other child has, sinuses and everything else. But
Yep.
I mean, he's the happiest kid in the world. You've been around him. He
I've been
ain't got worry
fortunate
in the
to
world.
know him, and he is an absolute joy to be around.
Oh yeah, yeah. His title at Go Devil, he is the entertainment director. That's his title.
That's a perfect title for him too.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
yeah.
always smiling. He wants everybody to have a good time, and he's a joke. He likes to joke around. He'll mess with you.
Oh yeah. Oh, exactly. Yep.
He is something else. He's special. And of course, you know, your other kids, you've had them involved in outdoors. All these photos that you post, Mr. Warren, you see me and Lance are friends. We've known each other now for several years. And, you know, Lance, I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, you don't know how lucky you had it coming up. But I think he really does. I think he appreciates it. I think he takes it all in and looks back at it and says, you know, yeah, I was very blessed, you know. And, I mean, for most of us growing up waterfowl hunting to have the experiences and the hunts that he's been on, you would sit back and say, man, you know, somebody like that could easily take it for granted. They may not even be hunting nowadays. And I could tell you, me and him hunt together, and he has the fire in him more than ever, you know.
Oh yeah, and then Blaze is right behind him. Blaze
is a mini,
just like he does.
Blaze is for those of y'all who don't know, Blaze is Lance's son. And if you look at him, then he's a spitting image of his dad when he was young, and he's just like him. If anybody that knows Lance, he is an absolute joy to be around. I've been blessed to have him in my life. I've coached him in sports, and he's just a great kid, man. He is a great kid. So, well, Mr. Warren, look, I don't want to keep you any longer. I know we've been a while tonight, and we had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we stayed a little longer. But I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on the show tonight, spending some time with all of us tonight. Thank you for being a friend to me and my boys and my family. I know we've known y'all from a personal level, also on a professional side, you know, and we're glad to be a part of y'all lives and just those little bit and pieces. But thank you so much for coming on, and I really thank you for everything that you've done for the state of Louisiana and for waterfowl hunting in general. I just want to say thank you, and I think I say that for a lot of us who are listening to this episode and know you.
All right, man, that sounds good. We'll do it again whenever you're ready.
We'll do it. We'll see. I'll see you in a few weeks. Actually, probably. I think we come and meet y'all over there. It looks like.
All right, man. Good deal. All right,
I'll
feed you something. I'll feed you something good to eat. You know that.
We always go eat good. I know that. So I appreciate it, Mr. Warren. Thank you,
man. All right.
Have a good night. All right, guys. Well, there y'all have it, Mr. Warren Coco with Go Devil Manufacturing. I know it's a long episode tonight, but this one went a little bit longer because we had some technical difficulties tonight with his phone, with Mr. Warren's phone, and that's just part of it when you're dealing with technology. But thank y'all so much. For those of you who stuck with us through this episode, hopefully you guys got to learn a little bit about Mr. Warren tonight that you might not have known, or maybe some stories that you may not have heard before. So much history, and we talked about this. Me and him have talked about getting together for a while now. We knew that we wanted to kind of do it this way where we could go live with everybody. That way some of you could interact and, you know, throw some comments in there. And several of y'all did tonight in the chat. So thank you so much for doing that if you interacted in the chat. And we really wanted to do this live episode because Mr. Warren said, hey, I want to interact with the audience. He said, I want to be able to do that. Kind of change things up from a normal podcast. And he said, with your platform, you allow that to happen. And I think we need to do this. And it took us some time to get together and do it, but I'm really glad we did. It didn't go smooth, as perfect as we wanted, but hey, hopefully you guys still enjoyed it and you got to have a good time with us tonight on this Monday night here as we get ready to prepare for our duck season to open up here in Louisiana and all across the flyways, guys. So if you enjoyed the episode, we appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up on these streams. If you could share it with your hunting friends, your hunting buddies, we also appreciate that. And if y'all have questions, either for me or Mr. Warren, hey, you can still leave comments down in the comment section below. We'll make sure that I get with him. We'll respond back to you, or I'll respond back to you if it's any questions that you might have that you'd like me to ask him. Let me know. We'll ask him. I'm going to be with them in a couple of weeks. We're going to be heading over to Hackberry, Louisiana to hunt with them, and that'd be a great time for us to kind of bring up some of the questions that came up tonight. So that's all I got for y'all guys. Until next time, this is Jacob with Last Stop Waterfowl Outdoors podcast. We'll do it again soon, and we look forward to this hunting season starting up here in Louisiana, guys. Y'all take care. Get a young one out there with y'all hunting this year. It's important. But anyway, y'all have a good night, and we'll talk again soon. Y'all take care.